McLaren's season has given Formula One something it hasn't seen in years. A papaya car capable of fighting at the very front. After seasons of midfield stogging and cautious rebuilds, the team finally delivered a machine that can battle Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes on merit. For McLaren fans, this was the dream. For their drivers, though, it was the start of something else entirely, a fight for supremacy that could define both of their careers, because with great speed comes great tension. And at McLaren, that tension isn't coming from rivals on the track, but from across the garage. Lando Norris, the loyal star who carried the team through the lean years, is suddenly finding himself matched, and sometimes even beaten, by the quiet, stoic newcomer, Oscar Piastri. This is more than just lap times. It's experience versus ambition, loyalty versus ruthlessness. Today, we're diving into one of F1's most fascinating rivalries, Norris versus Piastri, and how McLaren's return to the top has created their biggest internal challenge yet, the established star versus the rising prodigy. For years, Lando Norris was McLaren's centerpiece. He joined the team as a teenager, grew into the role of a leader, and built a massive following thanks to his wit, his humor, and his online presence. Twitch streams, memes, cheeky radio messages. Norris became more than just a driver. He became McLaren's marketing engine. He wasn't just fast, he was relatable. He was entertaining, and he perfectly suited a new generation of F1 fans. Through McLaren's struggles, Norris, he still found a way to stay loyal. He dragged underperforming cars higher than they deserved, banking podiums that felt like small victories during years when race wins were off the table. McLaren, in return, gave him the keys to the kingdom, the car, the branding, the garage. Everything just revolved around Lando. He wasn't just the face of the team, he was the team. Enter Oscar Piastri. No Twitch streams, no fan service, no radio messages, no carefully cultivated papaya Prince Charming persona. Just a young driver with a junior career so dominant that it bordered on terrifying. He won the Formula 3 and Formula 2 in back-to-back years. He arrived in Formula 1 not through hype videos or TikTok edits, but through one of the coldest contract disputes in modern F1 history. Alpine announced him for 2023. Piastri took to Twitter and simply said, "I will not be driving for Alpine." In a few dry lines, he ended a relationship, launched a legal battle, and showed the F1 that he wasn't here to play backup. He was writing his own story, and his rookie 2023 season was quiet, but in all the right ways. He barely made any mistakes. He kept his head down, and he delivered results that had pundits quietly whispering. And by 2024, he wasn't just keeping up with Norris. He was often beating him, not with drama, not with flashy moments, but with raw pace and icy composure. The script wasn't supposed to be simple. Lando leads, Oscar learns. Instead, Piastri's speed and his ruthlessness, it somehow flipped that hierarchy upside down, and suddenly the golden boy had a real problem. This tension reached a boiling point during one of the season's most controversial moments. Hungary, the defining moment. Every great rivalry has a flashpoint, and for Norris and Piastri, it came in Budapest. McLaren, they were running 1-2, Norris ahead, Piastri behind. But everyone knew the truth. Piastri had been quicker all weekend. He outqualified Norris and looked more comfortable on long runs. Then came the pit stops. Strategy? shuffled Norris into the lead ahead of the faster man. McLaren were left with an agonizing call: freeze the order and hand Norris a win that he hadn't earned on pace, or ask their star driver to step aside for the rookie. Norris pushed back on the radio and he said, "I'm not going to let him pass until I'm told I have to." Piastri said nothing. He just drove. The tension built up lap after lap until the inevitable came calling. Norris yielded. Piastri crossed the line for his maiden victory, and in what was supposed to be Lando's house. The podium said it all. Piastri looked calm. He looked like a business person. And Norris looked tight-lipped. For the first time ever, McLaren's hierarchy didn't look so secure. Hungary was just the beginning. The psychological warfare was about to intensify. The mind games begin. Hungary didn't end the tension, it opened up the door, and from then on, the rivalry shifted into a psychological battle. Norris leaned on his history, reminding everyone of his loyalty and years of effort. In interviews, he subtly positioned himself as their natural leader who had earned that status. Piastri, he didn't need to say a word. Each qualifying season where he edged Norris, each clean defensive move, they all sent the same message. He didn't need politics, he had the results. That silence made things even harder for Lando. Piastri wasn't creating drama or giving the team excuses, he was simply delivering. And when one driver quietly outperforms expectations, it forces management to start asking some difficult questions. Behind closed doors, McLaren, they tiptoed carefully. Meetings were balanced to the minute. Both drivers had to feel supported. Outwardly, harmony, inwardly, these were the scales, and they were shifting. As the season progressed, their on-track battles became increasingly intense and also personal. On-track warfare. By mid-season, the rivalry was impossible to ignore. Norris defended with clever positioning. His racecraft polished from years in the F1, he knew how to make his car look twice as wide, forcing Oscar into awkward spots. But Piastri had youth and also a whole lot of fearlessness. He found ways to overtake, and in the ways that weren't desperate lunges, but calculated strikes. Each pass carried a message. I'm not intimidated by anyone. Their radios revealed the subtext. Norris hinted that Oscar's moves were too aggressive. Oscar suggested that Norris was over-defending. Neither outright attacked the other, but both were shaping how the team perceived their battle. For McLaren engineers, it was a nightmare. Every instruction had to be phrased with surgical neutrality. Strategy calls weren't just about winning races, they were now about managing the egos of their two stars. And as each qualifying margin shrank, then each session became its own duel. Forget Red Bull or Ferrari, the rivals in the actual race were the two that were playing for the same side. Speaking of intense rivalries and the psychology of competition, if you're fascinated by the mental battles and all things F1, then make sure to subscribe because we're constantly posting the best F1 content. Hit that notification bell so that you never miss out. And guys, now it's time for us to get to the championship implications. Here's the problem. McLaren's car is finally fast enough to fight at the front, but their drivers are fighting each other. While Norris and Piastri duel, rivals from Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes pick up the pieces. Every internal squabble, it risks valuable points in both championships. So I want to know, who are you backing? Do you back the fan-favorite face of McLaren, Norris? He's the one who stayed loyal throughout all of those hard years. Or do you back Piastri, the young, colder, possibly sharper weapon who might deliver the titles that Norris has yet to win. It's not just sporting, because the sponsors, they care. Media cares. Media narratives, they actually matter. And fans, they are divided. McLaren's tradition of letting their drivers race freely is starting to look expensive. Both drivers know what's at stake. Norris feels the pressure of a shrinking window to become the world champion, and Piastri has momentum and time, but he doesn't want to wait. Neither is willing to yield, so what is going to happen? For McLaren, this is about deciding what kind of a team they want to be for the next decade, and which star they are going to side with. The Norris-Piastri rival has transformed McLaren from a team with a fast car into a team with a fascinating internal dynamic that could define their future. Whether this competition drives them to greater heights or costs them championships remains to be seen. One thing is for certain, McLaren's return to the top has created one of F1's most compelling storylines, proving that sometimes the biggest battles happens to those guys on the same team.